We're going live on YouTube as well, so people are joining now. GM Emmanuel as well. Yep, we're on live on YouTube as well. That's nice. Okay, so I think we're ready to start. We can kick this off. So I'll get this started. So welcome everybody. Welcome to, I believe today is day 9 of the Reignite Hackathon. So it's the 9th day out of 14 days that are quite focused on the hackathon. I hope that the office hours that we had previously, like a couple of minutes ago, was helpful and you cleared any blockers you had for the project. Now it's time to dive into some more parts or crucial parts of the Web3. This crucial part is user experience. But before we do that, just a quick reminders. We're kind of like are in the home stretch, so we have 6 days left until submissions are due. So that's on 26th of this month at 23:59 UTC. If you have any questions during the workshop, feel free to use the Q&A section or the general chat, both on Zoom and YouTube. And this session is being recorded, so in case you're missing some parts, you'll be able to access this workshop at your own will. So without further ado, today's workshop addresses one of the biggest challenges in Web3, and that's adoption. So we have complicated onboarding, right? But for that, there are invisible wallets and gasless transactions that can change. They're basically game changers, especially for your hackathon project. So I'm extremely excited to introduce Carlos from Chipi, who will show you how you implement all of these powerful features. And this could be what sets your project apart from the others. So Carlos, the stage is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Robert. I'm happy to be here. GM, everybody. As Robert said, this is a very hands-on workshop where we are going to learn how to ship invisible wallets and also ship on Mainnet. You don't have to spend your time testing or a lot of time in testnet where you have the tools to ship very quick. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Today we are going to see what about Chipi SDK. For context, on December last year, we had an app where you can pay bill payments and services in Mexico, and it was kind of awesome app because you could live in crypto if you were in Mexico, but it was very difficult for us to onboard new people because even when all the user journey you can finish in a minute, the onboarding part was very difficult. We had to say our users, oh, you have to download your wallet, and then you have to write down your seed phrase, and then wait, you have to deploy your wallet. So all these steps were about 15 minutes, and you lost your user attention. So that's where Robert recommends us why you don't use invisible wallets. And he shared a repository that become the Chipi SDK. We want you to build fast and launch faster, focus on onboarding new users instead of build from infra from scratch. Basically, you will be able to measure how many wallets you are deploying, how many transactions, if there are errors or success rate, and total volume that you are moving. This is very important because if you are raising capital or just because you are a business, you need to track all these metrics. And that's all my intro. In this workshop, I built an app. We are going to evolve from the old way where you use wallet providers, and then we are going to integrate Clerk to replace those wallet providers to your own out provider. Right now we are using Clerk and sponsor transaction. So let's see how is the actual user journey. Probably your application right now looks something like this, where user need to connect their wallet, and once you have connected your wallet, you you can send a message. And to send a message, you need to have tokens to pay for the gas. As you can see here, you have to sign every transaction, so the experience is not good enough. But right now it works. Um, while we wait to the transaction reflects on the RPC, let me show you the repository. This is the repository that we are going to use today. It's divided in three main branches. The branch step one is for building the UI and the smart contract. If you clone and clone the repository in this step one branch, you will have this application. So next we are going to deep dive in that branch. Then we are going to integrate authentication with Clerk. And finally, we are going to integrate Chipi SDK to create wallets and sponsor transactions. So this will be very easy. Feel free to ask questions. And let me start with the deep dive of the repository. Uh, I'm going to zoom. Uh, for this example, I use Next.js 15. Uh, let's see first what does the smart contract do. It's a web smart contract. I took an example of Build Space, a company that used to help builders to ship very fast. They closed, but I liked their examples. Um, you can send messages to blockchain, and you have a 21% chance to receive 1.0.1 of the token you want. In this case, I deploy it with Stark. So if you are lucky and you interact with my contract, maybe you will receive 0.1 Stark. Here, we are tracking two main events, the wave data and for the drop and the wave per se. So let's see how this look in Starknet scan. Here is my contract. Here are the read and write transactions. If I press total waves, it will give me the number of total waves. Here we have 14. Or we can write a wave. You can send any message, just like we did here. Also, as you can see, our wave from before, it's already here. Um, so that's all. This is the smart contract. At this first step, all is in one page. It's wrapped by an Starknet provider. Probably you are very familiar with this kind of code where you need a Starknet provider and define the connectors or wallets that you want. We have Argent and Bravos, and you can choose an RPC provider or use the public as well. Uh, in the code, we have we have two things: the contract address and the event key. Remember that I said that we have a wave event. It's for tracking all the waves that we are sending to our smart contract, and the event entry point is this address, and we use to fetch all the waves. We have an RPC that is listening from this hard-coded block number. You can use another things to track your on-chain transactions, like I don't know, the graph. They recently launched an integration with Starknet, I think last year. There are substreams and also uh, graphs. Well, so this function help me to fetch the wave events and fill the waves list. Then we have the total waves. If you remember, we have that function in the read functions, and we can call just total waves, and it's going to retrieve the total waves. It's very simple. We have a function to check the transaction status. Uh, I need a way to refresh the page if the transaction is confirmed, because right now we don't know if the transaction is on chain. So we need to listen the RPC. There are more elegant ways to do this, but this is just for the example. And finally, the send wave function. Uh, Here, the important part is that every time that you want to send a wave, you need to pop up the wallet provider, and maybe this is going to pop up Argent or Bravos, whatever you have installed. Basically, that's all our code. Let me share the repository in the chat in case you want to code with me. Uh, Remember, you clone the code and check out the step 1 UI to follow my instructions. Do you have questions?
So no questions so far, but I think the GitHub repo might be private. Just an FYI.
Okay. Yes, probably it's private, this one, right? Now now it's public.
Now it should work, I think. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Robert. So that's all for the step 1. I used v0.dev. I also will share in the comments. For the front end, it saved me a lot of time, and ChatGPT uh, for the smart contract, to be very honest. And also scaffold Starknet to deploy it. Uh, you can clone that, and let's move with part 2. Uh, for the part 2, we are going to set up Clerk and the onboarding part. So what do we need? We're going to follow two tutorials. The Kickstart with Next.js with Clerk. And I want to mention here that right now we are using Clerk, but you can use whatever auth provider you want. Uh, for example, Next.js auth, Supabase auth will be very similar to implement. I will share here also the thank you, Robert. And okay, here we already have our Next.js app installed. I also installed this one, Clerk Next.js, and for the for the middleware, we are going to just copy this part, copy and paste. Actually, you don't have to do it. You can just check out the step 2, and we will retrieve those changes. Let me do it here. Okay. As you can see here, we already have Clerk installed, so I won't install it again. And okay, let's move with these steps. The first step after the install the package, it's apply a middleware that basically is going to say which pages your authenticated user can see and which not, and you can put your middleware outside your app folder. And here i I added more things that you don't see in this example. Let's see. uh, First, the public roads, we are using the home, and also I added an onboarding page that we are going to see next. And that's all. First, you can check if you already have an user ID, and if so, it's going to redirect to home. If not, it's going to redirect to onboarding. Here you can add more functionality, like check if your user have a deployed wallet, and we are going to do that next. But first, we need to see that everything works well here, and and that's all. The rest of the code is very similar to the example. Then we need a clerk provider that you add in the layout of your page. We already do that, and let's see how you import your the clerk provider, the sign in, and the user button, and that's all. Clerk provider at the top. Uh, in the docs, you can see these props. Uh, where you going to where do you want to redirect your user if they sign in, if they sign up? Maybe you need to redirect to an onboarding or a home. All the logic you can provide here, and the sign in and user button is to allow user to sign out the session. So let's run this and see how it looks. Uh, before running, let's see how onboarding page looks like. The onboarding page it's very simple. Uh, we import clerk from sorry, use user from clerk that is going to retrieve your user properties. In this case, just the session, but also it can retrieve the wallet of the user. In the next step, I'm going to show you how to store wallet metadata in Clerk. And here, we in this page, we say to the user, hey, select a PIN number to encrypt your wallet, and that's all. That's our onboarding. So basically, the user journey will be you sign up, then select a PIN number, and that's all. We create the wallet for your user and store the metadata in Clark. Uh, we are not creating the wallets yet. We are just going to see how this works. And finally, explaining this part of the code, we are using a sign-in page with the instructions that Clerk provide here. After you add the provider, maybe you need to create your first user, but also you can create your sign in page that it's here. Clerk already have a sign-in page. You just import, and all your page is this component. You can customize if you want. Here I left the documents how to implement, but as you can see, it's very simple. Let's see how these changes looks. Remember that this was our old version. Now I don't see connect wallet. I see sign in to see the wave input. Uh, I I'm going to use Safari uh, because my Chrome is crashing a little. Uh, you can sign up with any provider that you want. Let me show how to configure. And you are signed. Here you can see the user button that we mentioned before, and you can sign out. And we're still seeing the connect wallet button because we didn't remove that part. We will change this functionality in the next step. But right now, uh, basically that's all. Important thing to mention is where is my here. Here you can see uh, your logged users, and I will I will show you how to add metadata to each user. This is my current user. I'm going to delete it to continue testing with you. Don't do it this in production. Uh, another, I forgot to mention another step. Here, you can customize what kind of sign-in options do you want. Uh, you can select any connector. I am using GitHub, Google, and TikTok. You can add whatever you want. There are Facebook, Instagram, GitHub, a lot more. Or you can use a phone number or email. It's going to work. Here you need to copy your API keys for the provider. This is what I forgot to mention before. But here in the example length, you will copy those keys in order to keep this application work and your onboarding works. Uh, so here, any question, we just added an onboarding page where we send the user to select a pin. Actually, we didn't select a pin in our application. This is because we didn't configure the routes, but we can see how onboarding looks like here. This this is like just a page to select a pin to encrypt the user wallet. There are a lot of ways of encrypt the user wallet. You can you can also use passkeys. Claire provide passkeys, so users don't need to select a pin, but this is for another tutorial. Uh, and here we finish the step 2. Any questions?
No questions
No?
so far. We're all good.
Okay, let's continue. And here is the interesting part. Right now, we have the onboarding, we have the UI, and we have the smart contract. We we need to add the important things, that is create wallet and sponsor transactions. So for that, we are going to use the dashboard of ChipiPay. You can go to dashboard.chipipay.com. I'm going to sign out to see how you can sign up or just sign in. And you will see your panel with how many wallets you have been created, transactions, volume. Mm, our contract is not trading any token, so we have zero volume, and the recent transactions and recent wallets. To integrate the SDK, we have the documents, and in the prerequisites, we just have to install ChipiPay slash Chipi SDK. And for this workshop, we won't do that. We can just check out our step 3 branch. And as you can see here, the first thing we have to do is to add our public key, app ID, and secret key. Uh, it's it's the same as you can see in the docs. Well, the dashboard here, you just go to configure and copy this the app key, the app ID, public key, and the secret key in your environment variables. And basically, that's all we are going to do to use this for our provider. We are going to change the provider. We won't use the Starknet provider anymore. We will use a Chipi provider. So after you install the Chipi SDK, you can import your keys. Important part here. Uh, this is an example, and this example is not production ready because you have your secret key in a client component, which it's dangerous. Uh, but in the documentation, we are going to upload uh, a new tutorial to have this in the server side, so it will be completely secure. The main change that you are going to see when you use the server part is that you are not going to use the secret key here in a client component, so this part is going away, and you will use your secret key in every hook that you are going to use. But basically, it's going to be almost the same. I keep this for just for the tutorial, but as you can see, it's very similar to the clerk provider or any other provider. With this, you don't need to worry about integrate your paymaster API key. We are using Avnus paymaster, and we already integrated. And the app ID will help us to fill your dashboard with your metrics. Every time your user interact with the SDK, is going to update your metrics totally on chain. So after you add the provider, we are going to integrate it in our layout here. Uh, we import this provider. Actually, we can remove the standard provider. I won't do it because I don't know if I will break anything, but we won't use it anymore. Instead, uh, we are going to use the Chipi provider that you import just after the click provider in the layout part. Um, you have to create a type file, types.d.ts, when you where you declare the module of the Chipi SDK. There are another ways to do this kind of declare module, but to be honest, I don't know how to do that part, so I did it as this. Uh, and that's all. Just with this implementation, you will be able to use any hook that we have here, any action. And we name actions instead of hooks because, as you can see, you can use create wallet or approve or stake or whatever action you see here, not only in your DeFi application, but in your AI agents or in your games. You will be able to use, you or your agent will be able to use any of these actions, just calling it, and it will implement the paymaster to sponsor any transaction. So first, we are going to build the part of create wallet and see what is going to change in our onboarding part, how to store the wallet data in Clark. Uh,
Carlos, maybe before we go into this section, there's a question regarding this certain part you briefly touched upon the gasless transaction. So Emmanuel is asking, can devs integrate this into their dApps for gasless transaction and deployment?
for deployment, what the smart contract?
Yes, I believe the account for the user.
Yes, we are going to use create wallet to create a wallet and deploy it using Paymaster. This is our first integration of the Paymaster. Every action here you just that you can see has implemented the Paymaster. So what happened behind the scenes is that we calculate your wallet using the Argent smart contract. Uh, in the next months, we will add Bravos and Open Zeppelin just to have more options, and also to implement sessions. In sessions, your user won't need to use their PIN. They just sign a session that lasts anytime, and they can skip sign every time that they want to use your dApp. If that answers your question, that we are using the Paymaster here at Create Wallet.
Yeah, I think that's a clear answer. Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, oh, remember that this is open source, and you can see the code of every action, or actually you can add more actions. I will be glad if you contribute to the code base. And if if you if you ever deploy a wallet, maybe you can do it by send a token but to yourself or interacting with another smart contract. We are using uh, a very simple smart contract. Actually, it's very similar to the contract I using in this example, because every user just send a hello. You send a message with your app ID. So that's the way we can deploy your user wallet, but also track uh, which wallet is from each project. Okay, so let's continue. We already implement the providers, the layout, and the types. First, we need to add functionality to the onboarding. We are importing use create wallet, which is a hook that we have in the documentation. Uh, we will use create wallet async. And before continue, let's see we, how can we store metadata in in Clerk in Clerk session. For that part, we have a tutorial here. Actually, this is the onboarding flow. Uh, and here, the most important part is that you select which custom claims you want to add to your session token as public metadata. This is protected by JWT session, and it stores in your users in every users. We are going to see how it works. Uh, for do this, you just need to add types and global.d.ts file in your repository with the the data you want to add to your user. Let's see uh, here at the here at the same. I don't know. Uh, after your source folder, you add a types folder with global types, and here I change the the data I want to store from my user. And first, a boolean. It, it has a wallet created. This means that your user have a deployed wallet. Sometimes you will get an error, and maybe your user sign up but it didn't create their wallet. So that's why we need this boolean. Then we are going to store the public key, store the encrypted private key. You can remove this, or you can store the encrypted private key in your database. This is just an example. At the end of the year, we will add a MPC to have more secure options to store your user's wallet. This remains self-custodial. Right now, we are using a PIN of 4 digits. That's not secure. I recommend to use an strong encrypt solution, and the first name. And that's all. Also for the onboarding, every time that we have a new user, we need to update their metadata. That's why we are going to use a, a server action. Why? Because it's more secure to use server actions for this kind of data. And basically, this is going to retrieve your your user information, the user ID, and you are going to update that user ID with the the wallet data, uh, public key and encrypted private key, and we use this server action in our main page here. So here is how it works. We create a wallet with a pin to encrypt. Then we complete onboarding, that is our server action that we see before, to store the metadata in Clerk, in the Clerk session. And if everything is complete, we will send it to our homepage or whatever page you want. Um, the in order to this work and detect if the user have a, a wallet created, we are going to add another validation in the middleware, that is this one. Here you are going to import session claims also. This is different from our previous example. And from session claims, you are going to retrieve metadata, and if the wallet is created, if so, you can pass the onboarding part, and that's all. This is very important if you want to add more steps in your onboarding. Maybe you need a KYC that you also going to store some metadata in Clerk. And right now we have a one pager onboarding, but you could have an stepper, and you can use the stepper logic here in your middleware and in your actions. So here in my dashboard, when I see every user, like this one, which is me, I can see that it has a public key, will create true, and an encrypt private key. Uh, and this was possible because we declare this interface. So in automatic, Claire will update your your metadata session claims here. Uh, let's see how it works. Do you have any question? As you can see, in we have almost 45 minutes. We almost finished our tutorial, and basically we almost ready to ship on mainnet. All of this is shipping on mainnet, so be careful what do you test on mainnet, but I strongly recommend to go fast to mainnet. uh, let's go.
There's a question in the meanwhile. Can I use this in a Flutter mobile app? So the whole invisible wallet implementation, I believe.
Yes, yes, please. uh, Here in the docs, I here SDK docs, we have an API where you can use also the create wallet, approve, and every action as an endpoint. So yes, And this week we are going to ship the same template that you are seeing right now with React Native if you want to build with mobile.
Nice.
Um, okay, with this implementation, we need to sign in. I'm going to sign with the previous user that I deleted, which is this, and this should send me uh, to the onboarding page because I don't have a, an account yet. I choose a pin, I click on submit, and we are going to create a wallet, and that's all. As you can see, I'm going to explain it, but uh, I I sign in, and now I can write a message and enter the pin. I'm going to explain how to change this, but the onboarding part is done. You can you can see your your user here. I'm going to refresh here. The wallet is created. Let me copy the public key, and if I copy here, it's an account, and we already have our user wallet in less than a minute. So the onboarding part is on. It's very fast, and the best part, you can measure here. Before, I don't know if you remember, but we had 14 wallets. Uh, and for the logic part. So here we finish with onboarding, we finish with signing, and let's deep dive in the page. We are going to use call any contract. We have a lot of actions, like custom actions that you can use very fast, like an approve and stake a withdraw. But if any of these actions satisfy your smart contract, you can use call any contract because I need to use the wave function. And here we we uh, we have the use call any contract. Then we get the wallet from the public metadata and the encrypted private key. Here we transform our our message uh, to 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 fill the call data. I think this is one of the most important parts. Sometimes the paymaster breaks if you don't have set up properly your call data. So be careful with this part. Fetch waves remains equal. Get total waves remains equal. And here we change send wave. Uh, we have get call data. That is the function that I explained before. It's going to transform a string to big int. Then we prepare our call data for our contract, and then we call the the function. We call any contract, the the payload, and here's the dangerous part. We are writing our the user pin here, which is wrong. You can change with a server action, but the important part is that here you call your contract address, the entry point is the wave, and the call data we have here is the message. And that's all. You call the function and wait for the result. Let's see if this works. I'm going to use Safari. I just press, and we don't we don't have to open our wallet. Actually, I don't have an installed wallet here. We just wait. I don't know if I press. Just be patient. I promise it works. Now it works. You see the confetti. The RPC is going to update in a minute. I refresh. I can refresh, but maybe we won't see immediately. At, but we can see in our dashboard here that we have another transaction, and I, I sent two. Maybe the last one is worked, but that's all. In less than an hour, we have a mainnet app. We are tracking how many wallets, how many transactions, and if you add something with tokens, we can measure the volume. Thank you very much for your time, and let me know if you have questions.
Thank you very much, Carlos. We do have two questions. So from one from Emmanuel. Has this been tested for Dojo game dApps? That's a good question.
Good question. Not yet. Uh, we built this on Starknet Hacker House at Denver this year, so it's very new. But we would love to ship an example working with Dojo.
Nice. Thank you. And there's another question from Brahma. When you said there's a stake method that you've used, the question is like, where do the token gets deposited, or is there like a specific target contract for staking?
Good question. You can use any staking contract you want. We have another template where we use Besu. Uh, let just hold a second. I'm going to share. Can you see my screen?
No, I don't. I think, yeah, now I can.
Okay. Here, I have the same another template. It's very similar. Here we can send USDC, and we can approve and stake tokens in the Besu smart contract. Uh, you can select any smart contract that you want, and if you are creative, you can do a pull request, and we can add here like stake at Besu, stake at. Before this, we used to stake at Nimora, not anymore. But yes, here is another example, and here you can see the repositories. Here's the repository. If you want to clone, it's almost the same example we did today, but we 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 have all.
Nice. Nice. Thank you very much for explaining that, and thank you for the great session. Maybe just one question from my end. So from your experience building Chibi what's the most difficult barrier when onboarding Web2 users to usually blockchain applications like Starknet, for example, or blockchain in general?
Explain how to use a wallet. Uh, it, it's pretty obvious for us, but if you want to explain your mom or test or test with any normal person, they they won't have the time to write down the received phrases. They won't spend uh, money to fund their wallet to have gas. So if you remove those those barriers, you can onboard fast. Uh, and a plus, every sign up here is a wallet created. So it's easy, very easy to have people on chain with this. And no, we are not the sponsors of the hackathon. We would love to be sponsors in the future.
Sounds good. Yeah, and there's another question regarding the how much gas do you put to users' wallet? I think that's, I mean, yeah, you can take it, yeah.
No, please. I think you know better how this works.
Right. So usually like basically how it works is that each user wallet they don't have like users don't have to take care of this funds like that they need to deposit. What happens is that you create this gasless transaction and you're able to incur all the transactions for your users, all the transaction fees for your users, but also the deployment costs, right? So what happens is that the dApp that you're developing that will incur all the costs for your users. The deployment fee is usually a couple of cents. I don't know exactly, depending on like the contract, but it should be quite cheap. And the dApp provider will incur the cost. Usually, you can use Paymaster. You can create your own Paymaster. So I believe Avenue will open source the Paymaster pretty much soon in the like next few weeks, or you can use currently Avenue's Paymaster that's available on their website, and you can integrate them as well. There's and the first option that I mentioned, you can develop your own Paymaster as well. But yeah, usually what's important here is that users don't you make the whole experience seamless for the users. Especially like coming from Web 2 to Web 3, they don't need to install an extension. They don't need to know about transaction fees. They don't need to know about account creations, things like this. These are all so complicated. Like you'll have to think like, how can I onboard all of these Web 2 users as simple as possible without explaining them what's blockchain, what's an extension, what's this wallet, and so on. So I hope that answers your question. Maybe Carlos, if you have anything else to add or something that I missed.
No, just to add the potential of this, you can build any Web2 game or app, and you can replicate that UX UI because you have to spend for transaction. And yes, we are using Avenue's Paymaster under the hood. Uh, and one last thing, here is our Calendly. If you need help to integrate our SDK, feel free to book a 30 minutes call, and we will be happy to help.
Nice, thank you very much. And feel free to reach out to Carlos on the Reignite channel as well, on the Telegram channel. He's there as well. And if you have any questions, we'll be there as well. I think that's a wrap up for today. So again, thank you, Carlos, for this incredible session. I think it's extremely valuable, especially invisible wallets and gasless transaction are exactly what we need for the ecosystem, the seamless onboarding and the broader adoption of the Web2 users. So key takeaways for the participants. Now you learn how to remove this friction from your dApps, the user experience, and implement walletless onboarding and create seamless transactions. I hope these techniques will be useful for the hackathon and for the projects that you're building during this hackathon. Just a couple of reminders on Thursday, we do have our final office hours at 2 p.m. UTC. And on Monday, which is 26th at 23:59 UTC is the project submission deadline. So make sure to submit your project before that. That's roughly it. The recording will be available pretty much soon after this workshop. And thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Carlos, once again for sharing these valuable insights. And everyone else, keep building, keep shipping, and I'll see you.